You know, when a new empire rises, it needs more than just swords and soldiers to really stick around. It needs a story. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of the Umayyad Caliphate, one of history's most powerful empires. They faced this massive crisis of legitimacy, and you won't believe it, they solved it not with more armies, but by reaching deep into the past to basically rewrite their own origin story.
So this was the $1 million, or I guess million dinar question for the Umayyads. I mean, think about it. They'd seized control, right? But their rivals held the ultimate trump card, a direct family connection to the Prophet Muhammad. So how do you convince the world you have the right to rule when your opponents basically have God on their side? This wasn't just about politics. This was a high-stakes game of survival.
All right, so let's break it down. On one side, you've got the Quraysh tribe, right there in the Hejaz, the heartland of Islam. They had what you might call religious capital. I mean, they were the Prophet's own tribe. And on the other side, you've got the Umayyads ruling from Damascus. They had the armies, the power, all the military might. But they were missing that sacred prestige. And that gap, that wasn't just a PR problem. It was a fundamental threat to their entire empire.
So this whole legitimacy thing, it ended up fueling this massive credibility crisis. The empire looked strong on the outside, sure, but it was being eaten away by all these divisions from within. And the most dangerous division of all, it was coming from the very soldiers who were supposed to be protecting the caliph. You see, the Arab world was split between two huge tribal groups, the northern Qais and the southern Yaman. And here's the problem. The Yaman tribes were the backbone of the Umayyad army. This deep, ancient rivalry was basically a ticking time bomb at the heart of their military. To keep their most important soldiers loyal, the Umayyads had to do something drastic. They had to make them believe that their ancient heritage was the most important story of all. So, faced with this crisis, what do? Well, the Umayyads came up with a truly brilliant solution. Instead of trying to compete with their rivals on recent religious history, a game they knew they couldn't win, they looked way, way further back. They went deep into the ancient past of their southern Yemeni soldiers, and they found a story that they could make their own. And this, right here, was the core of their strategy. They decided to tap into the, quote, imperial capital of the Himyarites, an ancient, super sophisticated kingdom from Yemen. Now, these weren't just any old kings. They were monotheistic kings who ruled a powerful state centuries before the rise of Islam. The Umayyads basically decided, you know what? This history, it's our history now. And to do this, they zeroed in on this incredibly powerful ancient title, Muqarrib. It's a royal title from ancient Yemen, and it means something like federator or unifier of tribes. I mean, if you're an Umayyad caliph trying to hold a fractured empire together, what could possibly be more perfect than claiming the mantle of the great unifiers of old? It was a title that broadcasted exactly what they needed to be. But hold on, because this was so much more than just digging up some old stories. The Umayyads launched a deliberate, state-sponsored project to completely reshape reality. They were turning history into a powerful political tool. So how do we know this was all so calculated? Well, it's thanks to the amazing work of modern historians who've pieced all the evidence together. By digging through everything from court poetry and official histories to, believe it or not, military payroll records, they've uncovered the machinery behind this massive historical project. First up, they deployed propaganda. Pure and simple. Court poets were basically paid to draw these constant parallels between the Umayyad caliphs and the mighty kings of ancient Yemen. The message couldn't be clearer. We aren't just religious figures like our rivals. We are kings, true kings, heirs to this long legacy of absolute power. And then they went a step further. They started sponsoring the writing of history itself. Scholars like a guy named Wahb ibn Munabih were given the job of creating an official record that made their Yemeni supporters look amazing. The whole point was to prove that the southern tribes had this long, sophisticated history of civilization and laws, while their northern rivals were, kind of newcomers to the whole empire game. And here it is. This was the masterstroke. By connecting themselves to the Jewish Himyarite kings of Yemen, the Umayyads created a completely alternative source of divine legitimacy. They were arguing that, hey, God's favor and the right to rule in Arabia didn't just start with Islam. No, it belonged to an older, grander tradition, a tradition that they now claimed as their own. It was brilliant. And get this new history had very real consequences. It literally translated to cash and status.
The state created this military payroll system called the Diwan. And to get a higher salary and a better rank, a soldier had to prove their prestigious Yemeni family lineage. All of a sudden, your family tree wasn't just about pride, it was about your paycheck. So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see what was really happening. The Umayyads weren't just ruling, they were actively building an imperial myth, a foundational story designed to lock down their power from every possible angle.
This chart just shows how incredibly targeted their strategy was. For their Yemeni army, they talked up the glory of ancient kings to guarantee military loyalty. To claim religious authority over their rivals, they pointed to a different history, the one about ancient monotheistic kings. And to build their new government, they looked to the administrative styles of those same past kingdoms. It was one powerful story, hitting multiple strategic goals all at once.
So here's the crucial takeaway from all of this. History isn't just a passive record of what happened. More often than you'd think, it's a story. A story that is carefully built, shaped, and told to serve the interests of whoever's in power. The Umayyads are this amazing reminder that the pen can be just as mighty as the sword when you're forging an empire.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. If every empire, past and present, is built on top of a carefully constructed story, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Whose story are we all living in today? And who gets to write the next chapter?